What was your start in angling TV? Because it's an interesting way to take the sport, isn't it? So where did you kind of begin with that?
It's a good question, quite topical actually, because the other day I took delivery from the UK of a whole pile of old transparency slides from the era, really from the beginning of Total Fishing, which was the first major show I did. It wasn't actually the first one, but it was the one that really, put me on the road to success, if you like. So I've got lots of pictures from then up to the digital age when I switched to a digital camera, was in 2003. And then I've got pictures, some slides and some digital images from that couple of years. And I'm thinking about writing a book. In fact, I am going to write a book, and the working title is Going with the Stream. And really, in many ways, that's been the story of my life. I mean, if I dial it right back, I've been fishing for as long as I can remember. Both of my grandfathers were fishermen. My uncle Colin, sadly no longer with us, was a keen fisherman, and my dad. And so at weekends, they used to take me to fishing matches. And, the club match fishing scene in those days was really thriving. And we used to go on coaches, sometimes in the car, and it was our way of escaping the industrial urban Midlands and fishing mainly on the River Severn, some of the canals, and also we used to go to places like Edgbaston Reservoir. But that was very much our escapism. I was brought up around Birmingham and the Black Country, and it was a really important escapism, actually. So I've always fished. I've always been fascinated by water, drawn to it, really. Sticklebacks and things, and pond life when I was a kid, netting with a little tiddler net. Wasn't long before my dad gave me a rod. And so I can't really remember a time when I wasn't fishing, but it was a hobby until the age of about 28, 29 years old. And I had a very successful career, commercial career, but there was something in me that just wanted to do my own thing. And so I left a very safe job with a good pension and, a very large number of staff, lots of responsibility. I loved the job. I didn't like company politics. I hated it. I just wanted to get on with my job.
Swapped it for angling politics now.
Yes, a little bit, I suppose. Of course, there's no such thing as a perfect world, but the world of angling politics is minuscule compared to some of the corporate stuff.
Yeah.
And so I embarked on a career, originally not with the idea of pursuing in angling media. That just kind of happened at the same time. And I got picked out by Angling Times, made a couple of fishing videos, as they were then in the early days, which then got picked up ultimately by Sky Television. And I made a couple of series of a thing called Fish Tales for Sky, and they were very short 5-minute shows that went on when the Premier League started. They went on with the Monday Night Football, and they were very popular. I didn't realise at the time that the commissioning editor was the next door neighbour of another fairly well-known angler at that time, and I won't say his name because it's not really relevant, but after we'd made a couple of series of fishing tales, I went to this meeting with this guy called Roger Moody. I hope you're watching this, Roger. You're probably not. You're probably brown bread now. But if you are alive, you'll remember that you told me that I should give up my television career because I was no good at it. And it was a devastating, crushing meeting, all based on his relationship with this other person, really, whom he felt he probably owed a favour or whatever. And as a consequence of that meeting, I was quite depressed and I almost gave it up. But it was the people around me who persuaded me, no, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Don't listen to him, Matt. And so I bounced back. Discovery contacted me and said, look, we love what you're doing and we want you to make a series for us. And by the way, we'll pay you. They didn't pay us a lot. People think I've earned huge amounts of money out of fishing. I haven't. But that's never been the reason why I did it in the first place. No. So I started making shows for Discovery, and it went from there, really, Jack. As time went by, I got more and more control over the content as my relationship with the people at Discovery improved. And it went on really pretty much unchecked until about 6 or 7 years ago, when we experienced a financial crash. And for Discovery particularly, they lost so much budget that it was really impossible to make shows for the sort of sums of money that they wanted to pay, you know. So at that stage then, I really took control of my own media. And I realized that if you were, you know, going to survive, I had to have my own network and my own media. So I invested huge amounts of time in social media and building that up and creating my own network. And to be honest, I've never been happier, because really a lot of people say to me, when are you going to make another television series? But I don't need to. I can make my own stuff now, and I enjoy it more. And to be honest, it's better.
Yeah. Well, there's 2
so,
points. Sorry, Matt. There's 2 points from that. One that I find funny when you say that chap mentioned that you're not a very good presenter, because one of the things, and I'm not blowing smoke up your arse, but one of the things I would say that's rare in angling presenters is to get someone who can, you get a lot of these people who are very good anglers, but they're not very good communicators, they're not very good presenters. And I'd say you've got that good blend, that you're a good communicator and you're a good presenter as well as being a good angler. And arguably that's more important. I mean, if you're doing a fishing program, you've got to catch the fish, but you've got to sell the show. You've got to be passionate to engage people. And I think that's something, not pointing any fingers at anyone in particular, but we've lost a lot in angling TV now, where you get these people who they're good anglers, but they're just not very engaging to watch in particular. I don't know if you'd agree with that in particular, or that's how I see it anyway.
Well, it's nice of you to say that about me. And of course, you know, there must be something there. Otherwise, I wouldn't have survived doing it as long as I have. But I just rode a wave, really, Jack. And at the end of the day, you've hit the nail on the head. The differentiating factor, there's 2 or 3 things, one of which is work ethic. People have no idea the work that I put into driving forward to make this stuff happen, because it doesn't happen on its own. The comment that I get from people, which, you know, you just have to live with what you've created, really, but it's, why don't you make another television series? Well, you know, I can't just pick up the phone and say, oh, I think I'll be on the telly tomorrow to a television producer. It just doesn't work like that. And, you know, half the time you're fighting their idea and vision of what fishing should be. And I was always very rebellious with that. I always insisted I made stuff to some extent on my own terms. You've got to have a bit of give and take. But what people don't realise, I think they think that fishing is like, I phone up Mick, hello Mick, shall we go perch fishing tomorrow? Oh yeah, right. And these cameras just follow us around like magic eyes. That's not how it happens. You can't, you know, technology has not gravitated to the level where you can make television like that. It has to be crafted, and there has to be an idea, and you have to pitch it, you have to sell it to people and persuade people and cajole people. And then you have to get people around you who are prepared to record that vision and make it reality. And I always believed that my vision of angling was better than that of some London-based producer who sat behind a desk all the time. And the reality is it was. But convincing them that is not that easy. So there is that element, but there's also the desire and the drive. Because when you go out fishing with cameras, you have to make compromises. You're often not fishing at the best time of day. Low light's a bit of a no-no for a start off. And the best fishing is usually in low light, especially with big fish. So you have to work your way around office hours and union rules and all sorts of things that people have no idea. And ultimately, one of the most refreshing things about creating my own and editing my own material was gaining that level of editorial control and the freedom that comes with it. So I've never been happier making the stuff than I am now. I think the stuff I make now is a lot better than what was there in the early days. You know, not being disparaging about that, but I am able to create fishing in my own image. And so I've had to evolve, but you are right. catching fish is almost the thing that gets you to the starting gate. And if you're not very knowledgeable and also tactically aware, because you have to take account of timescales and circumstances and many, many curveballs that get thrown your way. For example, when Mick and I go out filming, you'll have no end of people come bowling up during the course of the day and just start talking to us. And that stops us working.
Yeah.
So you have to, you know, there's a line between being pleasant and amiable and conversing with people, but all the time you're thinking, I'm sitting here talking to this bloke and the hours are burning past. We should be filming something about rigs or bait or whatever. So it's a huge problem for me and Mick now, being on the bank, because we do get approached by endless people that actually do stop us working. And so, you know, we don't want to stop them because we love the rapport with them. But actually managing the shoot is a huge problem that most people would never think of. It isn't just this idea that you go out fishing. Nonetheless, these tactical curveballs get thrown up to you. I mean, for example, when you're doing your research, people say, oh, yeah, we catch loads of big perch on this lake. Yeah, come down. We've had 4-pounders, 3-pounders, whatever. And you turn up and then the story unravels. Well, actually, we did have one 4-pounder about 5 years ago. And you think, that batch of perch is dead now.
Yeah.
You know, and that has happened to us so many times, that having a good researcher who knows how to ask the right questions that actually create a full picture, it allows you to make decisions. There are many, when you peel back the layers of the onion, there are many, many skill sets and determinations and professionalism required to make something that appears so incredibly natural. And it, you know, it is manufactured, it is assembled piece by piece, but that makes it sound almost cold-hearted. It isn't. It's painstaking labor of love, where you just piece and think, how can I bring this magic to life? How can I make people feel what I feel inside about this? And then if you can overlay that with a certain amount of spontaneity and ability to react to what's going on and pick up the vibe and introduce some humor into it, then you can create the magic. But it's not easy. And for that reason, it's hard to break into. It's very hard to get the combination, as you say, of the fishing background and knowledge with the ability to either educate or entertain or inspire. And so it's hard.
Yeah, no, I agree, definitely. And I remember when I worked on Crabtree, one of the problems we had with Discovery or Shed or whichever one it was they were saying that in terms of viewing figures, they got the same for a new fishing program as they did for a repeat. So they weren't very incentivized to commission a new program when they can just rerun, you know, John Wilson, whatever, or Total Fishing, something like that, which is a shame. But from a business point of view, it makes perfect sense. But in terms of if you're hungry for new content, then that was a bit of a problem, which is, I don't know if you found that or if that was the case with things on your end, but they were just happy with running reruns, was the case with this.
Yes, but I mean, you know, you were in an era when they were sort of dropping down the slippery slope in terms of their own new content, fresh content. And it comes back to what I said, that, you know, people who watch television, imagine it's just so easy. You earn fortunes doing it. It's so easy. It's not.
No.
It's very difficult. There's a lot of people competing for that. And you've also got to bear in mind that television these days, Jack, is not very powerful. You know, it's lost out to social media. Compared to social media, television now is weak. And, you know, around 10 years ago, I noticed in the industry, this panic set in where they knew that streaming and some form of digital self-broadcast was going to be so important, but they had no idea how to accommodate it. You know, they were so commercially naive, and still are.